You ever get that travel bug?
Hmm.
I swear, just the smell of jet fuel gets me itching for a new adventure. But you know what's even more fascinating than the trip itself?
What's that?
The intricate ballet happening behind the scenes at airports to get us all up in the air. So buckle up, because today we're going deep into the world of airport operations officers.
Okay.
These are the folks ensuring your flights leave on time, even when a flock of pigeons decides the runway is their new hangout spot. We've got some great intel from RoleCatcher, this career platform we're loving lately.
I've heard of it.
They've got this super detailed guide to the airport operations officer role, and trust me, it's way more interesting than just directing luggage carts.
It's a role that really captures your imagination, isn't it? I mean, they're the conductors of this massive high-stakes orchestra, making sure everything runs smoothly.
Yeah, okay, that's a way better analogy than mine.
Mhm.
But seriously, RoleCatcher describes it as supervising and overseeing all operational activities. To me, that sounds like a recipe for a constant adrenaline rush, especially at a busy airport.
It's not for the faint of heart, that's for sure. Think about it. You're coordinating with air traffic control, making sure ground crews are on point with baggage and fueling, and then bam, a security issue pops up.
Okay, yeah, now we're talking.
Yeah.
That's not something you can learn from a textbook. So let's ditch the job description jargon for a second, get into the nitty-gritty. Imagine you're an airport operations officer. Your shift starts at 5:00 a.m. What's the first thing on your agenda?
Well, before you even think about grabbing that coffee, you're diving into the day's flight schedule. And we're not talking about a quick glance. You're scrutinizing every detail, looking for potential hiccups, weather delays, any curveballs the aviation gods might throw your way.
Right, because a domino effect at an airport is not a good look.
Right.
One delayed flight can cascade into a whole mess of missed connections and frustrated travelers.
Precisely. And that's just the tip of the iceberg. You've got to constantly liaise with air traffic control, not just about takeoff and landing clearances, but also about runway conditions, weather updates, any potential hazards. It's a constant flow of critical information.
Hold on, I'm picturing this scene from those air traffic control movies where everyone's yelling coordinates and scrambling to avert disaster. Is it
Mhm.
really that intense?
Maybe not quite as dramatic as Hollywood makes it seem, but the pressure is definitely on. And communication is key. You're the central hub for all these different teams. And one miscommunication could have serious consequences.
Talk about a high-pressure phone call. So you've got your flight schedule memorized, you're fluent in air traffic control lingo. What else is on this airport operations officer highlight reel?
Well, remember those ground crews we talked about? They're your boots on the ground, literally. You're coordinating everything from baggage handling to refueling, making sure each plane is prepped and ready for departure on schedule.
It's like a perfectly choreographed dance, except with massive planes and luggage instead of ballerinas.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And just when you think you've got a handle on things, a wrench gets thrown into the gears. Remember those birds on the runway?
Oh, right. That's not just a funny anecdote, is it? That's a real-life scenario these folks have to deal with.
Absolutely. Wildlife management is a huge part of airport operations. Whether it's birds, coyotes, or even the occasional road raccoon, you got to ensure the safety of both the animals and the aircraft.
So you're not just an operations expert, you're part air traffic controller, part wildlife wrangler.
And part diplomat. Let's not forget the passenger management aspect of the job. Delays happen, emergencies occur, and emotions run high at airports.
Especially when you're stuck on the tarmac for an hour with no air conditioning and a crying baby in the next seat over. I've been there. It's not pretty.
And it's the airport operations officer's responsibility to manage those situations with calmness and professionalism, keeping passengers informed and as comfortable as possible under stressful circumstances.
Yeah. It sounds like this role requires a very specific set of skills, and I'm not just talking about knowing how to read a departure board. What are some of the must-have qualities for someone to thrive as an airport operations officer, according to RoleCatcher's research?
Well, you hit the nail on the head with thrive. It takes a particular type of person to not just handle, but excel in this environment. RoleCatcher highlights active listening and critical thinking as key soft skills for success. They're crucial in pretty much any field, but especially here.
Those sound like skills you pick up over time, through experience, what makes them so essential in the fast-paced world of airport operations. So we're talking about active listening and critical thinking. Those seem like pretty broad skills.
Yeah.
How do they actually play out in the life of an airport operations officer? Give us an example.
Okay, picture this. You're getting simultaneous updates from ground crew about a mechanical issue. A pilot's reporting strong crosswinds, and air traffic control is asking about a delayed flight's estimated pushback time.
Whoa, sensory overload much. That's a lot to juggle.
Exactly. Active listening means you're not just hearing these separate streams of information, you're processing them, understanding the nuances, and connecting the dots.
Okay.
Maybe that mechanical issue is going to take longer than expected, impacting that crosswind landing, which then throws off the whole departure schedule.
And that's where critical thinking kicks in, right? You've got to process all that on the fly and make a judgment call.
You nailed it. It's about staying calm under pressure, prioritizing, maybe making a game-time decision to swap gates for a faster turnaround. These aren't things you can program into a computer. It takes human intuition and experience.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm starting to see why RoleCatcher emphasizes those skills. It's not just about checking off tasks, it's about thinking strategically and adapting constantly. So, someone who loves puzzles, thrives under pressure, and can somehow tune out the airport chaos to focus. They'd probably rock this job.
They'd be well on their way, that's for sure. But even with the right skills, there's a learning curve, right? RoleCatcher's guide mentions different stages in airport operations officer's career. What does that progression look like?
Yeah, I'm curious about that too. We've been talking about this role in a vacuum, but how does someone actually climb the ladder in this field? Is it all about logging hours on the tarmac, or are there specific milestones?
Well, like many careers, it often starts with entry-level positions, like an operations coordinator. You're assisting the more senior officers, getting a feel for the airport's rhythm, learning the ropes from the ground up.
So, less about making big decisions, more about mastering the basics. I imagine there's a lot of paperwork, maybe even some coffee runs for the team in those early days.
Probably a fair amount of that, but also crucial observation time. You're learning the communication protocols, how to read those flight schedules like a pro, understanding the nuances of the airport's layout and the quirks of different airlines.
Because every airline is different, right? They've got their own procedures, their baggage allowances, maybe even their preferred coffee orders.
You're catching on. And as you gain experience, you might move into a supervisory role, overseeing a specific area, like baggage handling or gate operations. That's where you start putting those critical thinking skills to the test. Managing a team, troubleshooting issues, making sure your little corner of the airport runs like a well-oiled machine.
It's like leveling up in a video game, more responsibility, bigger challenges, but also, I imagine, a greater sense of accomplishment when things go well.
Exactly. And if you excel in those roles, you might find yourself on track for a senior management position, like head of airport operations.
Okay, now we're talking big leagues. What does that look like? Are you basically calling the shots for the whole airport at that point?
It's a lot of responsibility, that's for sure. You're overseeing multiple departments, managing budgets, developing long-term strategic plans, maybe even working with local authorities on security protocols.
Wow, from coordinating luggage carts to collaborating with the FBI, that's quite the career trajectory.
It's a testament to the diverse skill set this role requires and the constant learning curve. The aviation industry never stands still, so airport operations officers are always adapting to new technologies, regulations, and of course, the unexpected challenges that come with the territory.
Speaking of unexpected challenges,
Right.
we've painted a pretty exciting, albeit demanding, picture of this career. But let's be real, no job is without its downsides. What are some of the less glamorous aspects of being an airport operations officer that might not be so obvious from the outside?
Well, the one that immediately comes to mind is the schedule.
Yeah.
Airports operate 247, 365 days a year, and someone needs to be there to keep things running.
Right.
So if you're someone who values a predictable 9 to 5, weekends off, holidays with family,
Yeah.
this might not be the career path for you.
Right. No matter what's happening in your personal life, the plane's got to fly. It's a level of commitment that goes beyond the typical office job.
Absolutely. And it's not just the irregular hours. It's the constant pressure, the high-stakes decisions, the potential for things to go wrong, even with the best-laid plans. That can take a toll on your work-life balance and even your mental well-being if you're not careful.
It sounds like you need a certain level of resilience, maybe even a touch of dark humor to thrive in this environment. What do you think?
A healthy dose of both, that's for sure. But for the right person, those challenges are outweighed by the rewards. It's a career filled with purpose, camaraderie, and the satisfaction of knowing you're playing a vital role in connecting people and places.
Yeah, there's something inherently cool about being part of that world, even with the occasional bird on the runway. You know, it's funny how we romanticize air travel, the adventure, the destination,
Right.
but rarely do we picture the army of people working behind the scenes to make it all happen.
It's a hidden world for sure, and one that's constantly evolving. Speaking of evolution, This talk about the demands and rewards of an airport operations officer makes me think about the elephant in the room,
Oh, God.
technology.
Ah, yes, the robots are coming for our luggage carts.
Right.
But seriously, with all the advancements in automation and AI, it's got to be impacting this field in a big way, right?
Absolutely. We're already seeing it with things like automated baggage handling systems, sophisticated air traffic control software, even those self-driving luggage carts you mentioned.
Yeah. Okay, those carts are still kind of freaking me out.
Yeah.
But I get your point.
Mm-hmm.
Efficiency is key at airports, and if a robot can shave off a few minutes from a turnaround time, why not?
Exactly. But the question becomes, where does that leave the human element?
Yep.
Are we heading towards a future where airports are run entirely by algorithms and our trusty airport operations officers are out of a job?
Now that's the million-dollar question. And honestly, it's one I've pondered every time my flight gets delayed due to a technical glitch.
Yeah.
Is it really a glitch, or is it a robot having a meltdown?
I'd say it's probably still more often a human behind those glitches,
Yeah.
but your point stands. Here's the thing, though. While technology can handle a lot of the routine tasks, it's still humans who have to step in when things go sideways. And trust me, at an airport, things go sideways a lot.
I'm getting that vibe, yeah. So it's not about replacing humans with machines, but more about finding that sweet spot where they work together, right?
Exactly. It's about leveraging the strengths of both. AI can analyze massive amounts of data, optimize schedules, maybe even predict potential delays before they happen.
Like a weather forecasting superbrain for airports.
Precisely. But when a rogue weather system rolls in, or a plane has a mechanical issue, or heaven forbid, a security situation arises,
Oh, yeah.
that's when human judgment, experience, and that ability to think on your feet become absolutely crucial.
Because, let's face it, no algorithm can predict the emotional roller coaster of a delayed flight, or know how to calm down a crowd when the coffee kiosk runs out of espresso.
Right. Right.
Those are skills honed through years on the tarmac, my friend. And those skills, combined with the ever-evolving capabilities of technology, paint a fascinating picture of the future for airport operations officers. They'll be problem solvers, strategic thinkers, and, dare I say, even more vital to keeping those planes flying.
So, to wrap this all up for our listeners who are now seriously considering a career change, what's the main takeaway here?
If you're fascinated by the behind-the-scenes magic of airports, thrive under pressure, and enjoy the challenge of staying one step ahead in a fast-paced environment, this might just be the perfect career path for you. And if you want to really dig deep into the nitty-gritty of the role, I highly recommend checking out the resources we mentioned from RoleCatcher. They've got everything from detailed career guides to AI-powered tools that can help you put your best foot forward in the job market.
It's a fantastic resource, whether you're just starting to explore the world of aviation or you're a seasoned pro looking to level up your career.
Well, on that note, we've reached the end of our runway, our deep dive into the world of airport operations officers. It's a career that's both demanding and rewarding, challenging, and, let's face it, pretty darn cool.
Absolutely. And with technology constantly changing the game, who knows what exciting developments are on the horizon for this fascinating field. One thing's for sure, those planes aren't going to fly themselves, at least not yet.
Until next time, safe travels, everyone. And remember, the next time you're breezing through an airport, spare a thought for the unsung heroes of the tarmac, the airport operations officers who make it all look easy.